Hello and welcome back to Will's World Reviews and More. Today I'm going to be doing my WWE 2015 Battleground review results and also mixing some Raw results in there just because this is a day late anyway, so might as well make the most of it and talk about some bits that happened on last night's Raw. So yeah, anyway, I apologise for the video being late. I've been quite busy, but thought might as well make the most of it, discuss some things, and yeah. As I mentioned in my prediction video, I wasn't particularly looking forward to this pay-per-view for lots of different reasons. And to be fair, I wasn't massively overwhelmed by the results, and I think by the end I knew most of what was going to happen. I had my suspicions about The Undertaker, but it was still pretty cool. But we'll get into that. Generally, I was disappointed, but hey, it took my mind off a lot of things, and it was worth it, really. So we might as well get straight into it. So on the kickoff show, we had R-Truth versus Bad News Barrett. I'm glad Bad News Barrett picked up the win. It was about right, hopefully now this will be a bit of a kicking on period for him. Get him off the pre-show, get him some actual decent opponents. Maybe put him in the Intercontinental title scene again. I think that's what he needs now. I think it makes sense. The Big Show and Miz thing, that can't go on forever. Although because of his injury now it looks like it is. But insert him in there somehow. That would be a decent idea for him, and R-Truth can go back doing pre-show with Stardust, etc. Just like a little point that became quite apparent during the Barrett match, I suppose. It's just how poor the commentating team is at the moment. Really, really is poor. I mean, King, like I've said before, he's a legend and you have to pay respect for what he's done. But he's too old now. He needs to get out of the way. Just, his time is up, and it's very archaic. Michael Cole is just stale. He doesn't really add anything. I've never really known what he has added. Make him go back to being an interviewer like he used to be when I watched it the first time. But it's not really my thing. And I think JBL, who I'm a massive fan of in terms of his wrestling ability, and I do think he's the best of the commentator, but he's just been fed terrible, terrible lines. And I think he has to maybe even turn face. That would be my idea. I mean, long term they're looking at bringing Renee Young down to commentary. I mean, I liked it when it was just two commentators. If you want to keep JBL heel, then fine, have Renee and JBL. Perfect combination. But if they have three, then I think you maybe turn JBL face, Renee face, and then pick another heel. Maybe get Corey Graves to do a heel turn, or Booker T, or something like that. But I really am getting quite tired of the commentary, and I actually quite like it when they shut up. Anyway, next to a match that, again, I wouldn't have minded if it didn't really happen. Sheamus v Orton. Not much to say. Orton wins. Home crowd. Blah, 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 blah. Does seem a little bit like Orton's now wondering what the hell am I supposed to do in the company. I've achieved everything I could possibly want to achieve. It's unlikely he's going to get anywhere close to breaking the world record number. If anyone's going to do that, it's going to be Cena. So what is he really offering? I don't see him doing a Cena and dropping down to the mid-card. Full time, he takes massive gaps. This feud had no traction to it. It was pointless. If I was Orton, I would have maybe considered just, hometown, pay-per-view win, saying that's it now, I'm finished. But, yeah, Orton wins. End of. We'll see where they go with that. I think, obviously after Raw, they were involved in a match, and he's just playing like the kind of typical babyface at the moment. So, turn him heel if you really want. I mean, that might be a good idea. That's it, really. New Day versus Primetime Players. Big fan of Primetime Players with the belts. I like the fact that they're keeping the belts. The tag team division really at the moment hasn't really got anyone on Raw. We saw them go up against Los Matadores, which are an excuse of a tag team, so why bother? So really, they've only got the New Day as their kind of foil. I don't like about the Primetime Players is that they make Darren Young out to be the kind of weakest link, and Titus O'Neil always has to come in and save the day. We did a little bit better at that today, but at Battleground. But genuinely, I think they're wanting to. I think once they get the Usos back, and I'm not sure where Harper and Rowan and Cesaro and Kid stand, but I think mainly the Usos until they get maybe someone from NXT or a new tag team or something. I think and they're going to keep the primetime players together. But then I'm probably expecting a massive push for Titus O'Neil as a single star. They tried to do it before, but I think this time they're going to give him a good run with the belts, and then I think he'll be a good single star, or they'll want to push him as a single star. But we'll see what happens, you know. This kind of leads into where they might go with the tag team division in the next match, which is Reigns v Wyatt. and this was probably one of the match that I was looking forward to the most, surprisingly enough. And you know, a lot of people have had mixed reviews about it, but I enjoyed it. It was probably the most enjoyable match on the card, minus Divas probably, which we'll get to. But Reigns v Wyatt, Wyatt wins after Harper interferes. There was kind of rumours that Sting was getting involved as well. We were all waiting for that. It never happened, which is probably a good thing. So, you know, Wyatt says the family's back together. Harper interfered, got the win, blah, blah, blah. But as you'll see from Raw, you know, obviously Wyatt has Harper, Reigns has Ambrose. And what they're aiming for, I think, here is in the next few weeks up to SummerSlam, they're probably going to have them feud as tag teams. So as that's leading to the tag team, you know, with the long term, they want to make Wyatt and Harper a permanent tag team, like they're going to do with Rowan and Harper. I can't see long term them wanting to do Ambrose and Reigns, but I think they'll fill a gap. And I think, you know, to have maybe another tag team match on the card that's not to do with the titles. Obviously, primetime players will feud with New Day and all the other tag teams that they've got going around, Los Matadores and bloody hell, the rest of them, whoever they are. You know what I mean? They'll probably use this as an angle going forward, and I think at SummerSlam you may have a repeat of Reigns v Wyatt and then Ambrose v Harper. They might do some kind of tag team match. It's difficult to say. They may even mix it up. They may have Reigns v Harper and Wyatt v Ambrose. So there's a lot of attraction to go with this, and to be honest, I'm not especially bothered because I like all four of these guys. And if they're on, like, I was upset that Ambrose wasn't on Battleground card at all. So if it gets them on the match cards, if it gets them in the publicity, you know, I guess it probably would be seen as a bit of a step back for all four of these guys, because at the end of the day, you know, a year ago or so, they split up from their respective groups and now got 2/3 in each of the Shield and the Wyatt family. But I think it will be decent, and I think long term they'll probably wanting to still push Reigns, but at the moment, you know, he's not really involved in anything else, so it's probably a good idea to do this, and it'll throw out some interesting ideas, and you know. It might also lead to a Shield reunion at some point, because it keeps. I think, you know, at one point everyone was thinking, are Reigns and Ambrose going to turn heel? It could happen, but it's more what's looking more likely now is that Rollins will probably turn face at some point, and maybe they'll have a Shield reunion as face. We'll see how it goes, but I'm interested in seeing how this one plays out, and for me, it was probably one of the best matches on the card. Then we go on to the impromptu Divas match. Charlotte, Stephanie McMahon announced it was a triple threat match, and each team, Team Paige, Team Bella, Team Bad, had to pick a member to fight in the triple threat. Team Paige chose Charlotte, Team Bad chose Sasha, and Team Bella ended up choosing Brie. And Charlotte came out of this victory. It was a decent match, long match. Brie is pretty pointless. You know, she did all right, but it's really like, why bother? You know, they should. I think I was discussing this. I'm not discussing it, but I was thinking about what they could have done to make this better, because I think they've done a really good job with this storyline. I really do. I think, you know, in terms of what we had before and what we've got now, it's a massive improvement. I'm not complaining, but I think they could have angled it better. I think they should have just took the Bellas out of the situation completely. And what I would have done is just try and get Team Paige. Well, I suppose I don't know, even I'm getting lost and confused now in what my own thoughts were. But I think originally what I suggested was that it seems pointless having on Team Paige. It seems pointless having 2 NXT girls, because you only ever get to see one if they're in triple threats, if you know what I mean. So like here we had Becky Lynch, who was not kind of involved at all, and she should have been showcased maybe, because you had a triple threat and you had one from each team. So what I would have done personally is on Team Paige, I would have had someone like Natalya. Before they say, I say Natalya because she's got nothing to do now. Her husband's on the shelf. She's not going to side with Cesaro because that's over now. I'd have had Natalya, who's perhaps the only diva on the roster who actually has got wrestling chops, you know, Hart family, you know, it makes sense. I'd have her join Team Paige and then have Charlotte join that team. and then you've got a wonderful kind of wrestling history. In those three girls, you've got Paige, who was literally brought up in the business. You've got Natalia, who is a third generation superstar, and you've got Charlotte, who's the daughter of Ric Flair. That would have, to me, symbolized them as being the best team, and they would have been the wrestling gods, or not gods, goddesses. So that should have what I'd have done with that, and then I would have took Alicia Fox out of the situation altogether, put Becky Lynch with them, get them an NXT girl. So that way they've got an NXT girl in their group. So Becky Lynch would have been called up for the Bellas, and just keep Team Bad as they were, getting Sasha Banks in with that. And that's what I would have done. I'd have just taken Alicia Fox out of it, given Bellas Sasha Banks, and then they could have done Charlotte v Sasha v Becky, and it would have made more sense because then you get to see all of the NXT girls. Instead, they've chosen to do it this way, and I think they're going to find it hard to showcase them all the time. It's going to end up being a bit hard for them, but one of them might end up getting left behind, and it's just a bit strange. For me, Charlotte is the best of the new bunch by far. I've always liked Paige though, but again, I haven't seen much of Becky, so that's my whole point really. Still could have gone for longer, but I guess they are looking to end up taking this somewhere special, and I'm interested to see where they go with it. Anyway, rant over about the Divas match. Can you believe I spent that much time on a Divas match? That just shows how far we're going forward now. Anyway, Cena v Owens. I think everyone knew what was going to happen. I suppose it's a little bit typical. Cena usually gets the rub in terms of the third match, so it was to be expected. Still a wrong decision for me. Initially, before Raw, I was thinking, will the feud continue and maybe make it a changing of the guard kind of moment at SummerSlam, which may have been good. Owens tapping out to me was a bad idea. It should have maybe just been a pinfall. But as it looks like now, Owens still could be involved, because it looks like Cena now is going into the world title picture, kind of, because he confronted Seth Rollins. It's like champion v champion. Whether they put both titles on the line at SummerSlam or not, I'm not sure. But I think Owens obviously is going back down to NXT to have a rematch with Finn Balor. Whether they just relegate him back to NXT and then get him a new feud somehow on Raw, maybe with Cesaro and Rusev, would be a shame. So they may even insert him into that kind of triple threat with Rollins and Cena. But it looks like now that Cena's going briefly back up there, and I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing. I just think it is a bit of a shame. But it'll be interesting to see matches between Cena and Rollins on their own kind of thing. I'm not sure where they're going to go with it. I think at some point they are wanting to break the Ric Flair's record, obviously, or even it even. So we'll see what happens with that, but it looks like they're building up for that. Intercontinental Fallout, you had The Miz blah 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 blabbing away, and then you had Big Show just come down and punch him. To be fair, The Miz made a valid point about the Big Show retiring. I was at first wondering whether what on earth was going off. Was it a shoot or not? Because Big Show just came down in his street clothes, really, and I wondered whether it was planned or whatever. But obviously it was. So we'll just have to see where they go now, and depends how long Ryback's injured for, like I say, because this feud could get stale very quick. So interesting. Then back onto the obviously main event, Rollins v Lesnar. Rollins decimated by Lesnar as you expected. When he jumped over the barricade was amazing. Lesnar. Well, if I've got written down here, I can't even read my own writing. Rollins got a little bit of a fair crack, targeting the leg. It showed his kind of knowledge and his wrestling tact. But obviously, in the end, the lights went out. We heard the gong. Taker comes down and tombstones Lesnar 3 times. Yeah. So obviously, it's clear they're going now with Lesnar v Undertaker at SummerSlam. What to say, really? Taker's looking old as hell. He really does. I mean, I think they're looking up for him to retire at WrestleMania. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, because Raw obviously was quite good with having the locker room and security come down. It was made for an interesting an interesting Raw. That was probably a really interesting side. But they've basically got two part-time competitors now. You've got Lesnar and you've got Undertaker. Two part-time competitors for different reasons. Undertaker, they like to keep his work down to a minimum because of his age and his health, and also because he's viewed as a main event star, and they want to keep it like WrestleMania. Lesnar, obviously for different reasons, doesn't want to work a full-time schedule, so it's the same kind of star power. And having them on Raw was interesting, and they're obviously building up to that match at SummerSlam. So it depends what they're doing now. I was thinking because of all the staff that came down and everything, they may suspend people, but what I'm thinking they might do is kind of lumberjack match. Now, whether they do a lumberjack match at SummerSlam or they do it before then, that's what I'm trying to say is with their appearances, it depends. It might be a good idea to just let them go at SummerSlam and just see where the chips lay. So in order for that to happen, if they want to go down the lumberjack route, they'll have to do that on a Raw probably, somewhere in between. And that would be interesting. I'd like to see that. With all the superstars surrounding the ring, no one escapes, no one can get out of control, whatever. It'll be really interesting. I think that's what they will do at some point. And it basically then ties up everybody. So going forward, you've got Lesnar v Undertaker. That's their feud. Eventually you would think Lesnar was going to go back into the main title picture. It's clear that Undertaker is not after the title. He's not interested in that. This is all about revenge for the streak. Cena and Rollins, they're looking to be the main title match. Originally people were thinking it might be Rollins v Triple H at SummerSlam. Still could happen. We'll see where they go, but Rollins is remaining the heel for now. You've got the Wyatts. Wyatt and Harper, Reigns and Ambrose feuding. That keeps them on the card. Tag team sorting itself out, and Divas division is moving ahead nicely. So it's looking like it's going to be a good SummerSlam. Like I say, wasn't too impressed with this pay-per-view. Had a lot of talking points, but in the end, it is basically a bridge to SummerSlam, and now we're waiting to see what happens. So I'm excited. I really am. I'll be interested to see where they go. Anyway, that's my rant. I know it's been a longer video, but like I said, it was kind of raw as well. So for now, I'm not sure when I'll be back with the video. But thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon. Peace.